I wanted to go on life-changing journeys to find meaning or to be more enlightened about who the hell I am rather than just somebody desperate for attention. You can go to shrinks for 50 years and tell them about how angry you are, but you'll just get more angry.
Yeah.
Or if you tell your life story too many times, you'll start to believe it.
Hey everyone, it's Matt. Welcome back to On The Mend, the show that looks back on life's toughest moments to learn how to move forward. If you've been following On The Mend for a while, you'll know why we wanted to bring back today's episode with Ruby Wax. Ruby doesn't do surface level, right? She doesn't do polite. She doesn't do media trained. She goes straight to the messy stuff. And she does all of that while being outrageously funny. So whether you're new here or you've been listening for a while, settle in. This is Ruby Wax. Let's get into it.
I did not get mentally ill on purpose.
Yeah.
I happened to get ill. And you can say, oh, were you really exhausted? Did you work too hard? And you want to go, read my lips, sweetheart. When you have depression, you can win an Oscar.
Yeah.
And you want to kill yourself the next day.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the situation. I've been on holiday and had depression.
Yeah.
It may have to do, but this didn't occur to me until after I wrote the book. It may have to do, I don't know why I didn't think of it. One of my journeys I was going to do psilocybin.
Yeah.
And so I had to get off my antidepressants 6 months earlier. In order to do it, you can't do that and take psilocybin.
So you have to be off them for 6 months before you can take psilocybin?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to wean yourself off. So that may be, the reason I ended up in a mental ward.
So you were off meds?
I was off meds. And then I was getting ready. This is after, the silent retreat, going to Afghanistan. I was on a roll. And I was about to get on the plane to Holland because that's the only place you can do it.
Yeah.
And they gave me a COVID test and I had COVID.
Yeah.
So I had to cut out the psilocybin trip, then get seriously back onto those meds.
Yeah.
But it was too late.
Right.
So that may be the reason I ended up in a mental ward.
Did you, you kind of speak about it in the book as though you didn't really see it coming. I feel like it's funny, like I heard someone say that life has to be lived forward, but it only makes sense in reverse. And I find that...
Who said that?
I heard it on a podcast recently.
Right,
I was like,
feel
I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Because that's so true. Like, if I look back on my life, I'm like, oh, that fucking makes sense.
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
can never fucking realize that in the time. So, and it's quite easy for someone to say, for instance, the silent retreat, right? Like, that kind of starts the book with talking about that. And I've heard about these things, right? And I've thought to myself, I try to meditate. Right, and I become a little bit obsessive about it sometimes, which I know is wrong.
The addiction can go that way too.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And sometimes
I'm sitting here for 12 hours.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm like, why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this?
Yeah.
Like a silent retreat for 7 days terrifies me.
Yeah.
So 30 days. What's your headspace like?
Most of the stuff I do, I check out. That's.
Right.
I'll go to like 100 neuroscientists or whatever.
Yeah.
So I needed to check out what mindfulness was. So I hunted down this professor at Oxford who created it.
Right.
He created the psychological version. John Kabat-Zinn did mindfulness-based stress reduction. The guy at Oxford, the professor at Oxford, created it for depression.
Wow.
And they stole from the East. So I hunted him down and I said, what happens in the brain? Because I got no time. And don't throw me an angel card. I don't want fluffy stuff.
Yeah.
I have no time.
Yeah.
So he said, if you want to know that, you'd have to get into Oxford and get your master's. Well, this is a driven woman.
Yeah.
And I really was a failure in high school.
Yeah.
So tell me about neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
I got into Oxford and I studied what happens when you do mindfulness. By the way, prayer also does that same recalibration of neurons.
Right.
But I can explain it almost like if you do a sit-up, you're going to get a six-pack.
Yeah.
You can pray you're not going to get it, but that's going to happen. The real exercise of mindfulness. And there's other ways, too.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. But it has to be an exercise like practicing the piano.
Right, okay.
And so I really understand it, what goes on in the mothership.
Right.
And that's why I do it. So it's not a waste of time. But 30 days was nuts.
Yeah, that's intense.
Except something does happen, is that after a week you're in hell because all the thoughts are coming to you, what a jerk you are, what an asshole. And they get louder and louder.
Yeah.
And you think, this is the end.
Right.
Because and there's no telephone to grab to distract yourself, and shopping's out, right?
Yeah.
And your fingers are moving to buy things, bath mats at 2 a.m, but there ain't no computer.
Fuck.
So eventually, your mind gets tired.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this season. If you want even more from On The Mend, hit follow wherever you get your podcasts. Right, back to the action.
It gets so tired. So after a week, you got to get through that week. It starts to, your thoughts never go away, even at, a death maybe.
Yeah.
But they start losing their mojo. So you get, boy, are you an ass? You fucked that one up. You don't have the fireworks of self-abuse anymore. And then gradually, it's almost like they lay down and go, okay, take it. And when you get that state, I said it was like a cat purring in my heart.
Yeah.
There's it's a surge, and I'm sure it's very similar to what people get on drugs, on psilocybin.
Yeah.
There's a surge of suddenly you're at 1.
Right.
But the minute you think I'm at 1, you're gone again. Now you're going. Now you're slipping into arrogance. So you just have to feel it. I got it for 30 seconds. That took 30 days to get about 30 seconds just feeling it and just thinking, I'm watching an ant go up and down a tree, and it's the best theater I have ever seen in my life. And then food, because you don't have to turn to somebody and go, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Food starts to be, tears are running down your eyes because you're eating a raisin. So that's the 30 days.
Yeah.
And you keep going in and out of it. Like you'll go, boy, are you in it? You know what I mean? You'll get the odd thought, but they're not taking over.
Right.
And you realize that you're much bigger than Ruby.
Yeah.
You're way, it doesn't end at the skin. I don't want to be, or quantum physics, but there is something. I'll just mark it down as something.
Yeah.
And I left in that state, and I realized that I paint the world by my imagination. Like I thought the guy next to me was in love with me.
Yeah.
So for 30 days, I'd look away. He was really young and pretty. Why would he be in love with me? And I was sure he stared at me when I was washing dishes.
Yeah.
And I was covered in stains, and they were ugly. Galoshes, and my face was all smeared. But I thought he was staring at me. At the end, I said to him, who was next to me, so did you notice me next to you? And he said, no.
You know that feeling when you wake up and it's like you've slept, but you're still knackered? Well, I used to blame the kids, the late nights, my busy schedule, basically everything but what I was actually sleeping on, my mattress. Turns out that was a problem all along. When you're trying to rebuild yourself as a husband, a dad, a mate, whatever, you learn that good sleep isn't just a luxury, it's what you need to fill those roles. So over at On The Mend, my podcast, we switched to Simbra, hybrid mattress. We chose this mattress as we learned the hybrid layers adapt to your body, keep you cool and give you proper support. All of this helps so much when you're waking up refreshed and you're not dragging yourself through the day. So you can become a better version of yourself through the power of sleep. Simba's won over 100 sleep awards and 6 Which Awards. Best buys, and I get why. You get over a 200-night free trial, a 10-year guarantee, and flexible finance options. So there really isn't a risk, and you'll get to see how amazing you really, really sleep. Honestly, it's amazing how much better life feels when you're well rested. Head to simbasleep.com/on the mend and give yourself the rest you deserve.
But I heard snoring, and you realize you cast, it's like you're a casting agent for reality. So you have these epiphanies. Like, I think you're a certain way, so I'm going to treat you that way.
Yeah.
Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Maybe I leave and you hated my guts.
Yeah.
I'm reading that you kind of like me.
Yeah.
But I may be wrong. So I like that now you may be wrong. How you see the world is not the roadmap.
Yeah. And also, we'll worry less what people think of us when we realize how seldom they do.
How seldom they do.
Yeah, absolutely, because we're all in our own shit.
Yeah, when I was meditating, I woke up one day early. I woke up and I thought, oh my God, everybody's staring at me. Everybody's looking. Nobody. I was not the center of the universe.
Yeah.
I found it disturbing.
Yeah.
They didn't give a shit about me.
Yeah.
And invisibility, I made peace with it. Whereas in real life, I am ignored. That's why I'm funny.
Right.
I'm ignored. And so mommy wants attention.
Right.
So she develops
Has it always
a sense
been
of
that
humor.
way?
Yeah, I wanted people to. I have an invisible quality.
Yeah.
That people look through, and then I turn it on, and they start to look.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's from mommy and daddy, but let's not go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, go there. It's in the book.
Yeah, so it is in the book. I don't
Yeah.
think you have to be Freud to kind of figure out the kind of link between that stuff and kind of what
Your
happens.
parents saying, "Boy, are you a loser?
Yeah.
Boy, are you a sad sack?"
Yeah.
If you get that all the time, you better switch on something, or they'll eat you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think what I find most admirable with you, not most admirable, but like what I really fucking love about you, is reinvention. You know, because I think we're all capable of it, but it seems so fucking terrifying before you do it. You know, and I think, you know, you going back to Oxford, right? So you've had 25 years of television, you know, and you're no stranger to this also. You went to Berkeley and you studied psychology, right?
Yeah.
You know, before drama school. But you leave that, you go to drama school, you become, you know, the Ruby Wax that the UK fucking love, you know, 25 years of TV, and you go, right, I'm going to go back to Oxford and fucking study. You know, what was that journey like? What happened? What switched in you to make that happen?
I think, and this is my kind of next book, I'm fascinated with our passages.
Yeah.
What happens, you know, that makes you move? Suddenly you want to have children. Suddenly you're going, would you, and boring people with photos of your kids.
Yeah.
We keep moving, you know, and toward the end.
Yeah.
So you go through different passages. At some point, if you're really honest with yourself, the person that I created for personal reasons and to tell my parents, fuck you.
Yeah.
I was more interesting than you thought, became tiring. Like the costume didn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
You lose your mojo.
Yeah.
And most people just keep going because it's show business and you see this sadness in their eyes, you know, and they have to stay real, you know, you see all these all these comedians, older ones, die of a heart attack because they were trying to stay young and their faces are grotesque.
Yeah.
Like at 20, you get away with it.
Yeah.
So I started to get sick of just dragging out this persona.
Yeah.
And people going, you're so wacky and aren't you obnoxious and all this stuff. And I thought I made this, man. This is not me. But the more you act it, the more you get entombed in it.
You can become trapped in it. Yeah, yeah.
And you think that maybe that's me. And
Yeah.
people are laughing and you haven't said anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I did Alan Carr yesterday. Is he really like that? Because he's funny.
He's fucking funny.
But is he really like that?
Yeah.
I couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll never get tired of it because, you know,
Yeah.
he can have a life like that. Whereas if I'm just like that all the time, who's gonna come near me?
Yeah.
Except celebrities, because
Yeah.
I can switch that on.
Yeah.
And then it hurt too much.
Right.
Yeah.
So you thought, right,
I got to reinvent.
right, okay. So that's Oxford fucking University.
But finally,
Yeah.
I'd had a few reinventions before that.
Right.
But then I got to Oxford and I forgot completely about show business.
Yeah.
You know, because fame is very addictive.
Yeah.
And I'd get on the tube and there'd be still little driblets of it. I'd go, excuse me, I didn't buy a ticket. Do you know who I am? And they go, yeah, you're an asshole. Now go buy a ticket. Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually you're weaned off it like heroin.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're not famous anymore and you feel much better, but you can't get a table in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Go, fuck it, I used to.
This reminds me of watching Ruby Met, which
yeah.
I fucking loved, because I mean, Ruby Meets was such a big part of my childhood. I vividly remember watching the Pamela Anderson episodes. For me, they kind of showed us exactly what that show was, in a way, because I think we always had these kind of, this was before social media, before the internet, before we kind of knew
That's why
who
I got
these
away with it.
stars were.
Yeah.
We kind of like saw these, before we can kind of fucking go on Instagram and see this person talking about walking their dog or whatever, or whatever bullshit they're selling. They were untouchable. Pamela Anderson was the the epitome of that, really. She was like, and it was Baywatch fame, and you went and showed this kind of incredible, funny, powerful woman, and you really got to know her through that show with you, and then watching Ruby.
Because she liked to play.
Yeah.
That's the thing is you couldn't get near them now because
Yeah.
of social media because I might spill something.
Yeah.
There was no social media. The PR people were PR people.
Yeah.
So Pamela would say fuck off to her PR and just say, I want to play with this girl.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
she let me put on her swimsuit.
Yeah.
I pretended to shave my inner thigh and pretended it was bleeding, so put tissue paper on it. And then they let me play her on the beach with my ass in the air.
Yeah, yeah.
The beginning of Baywatch and run
Yeah.
like her. She thought she's smart enough to
Yeah.
know how funny that is.
Yeah.
And so we played a lot. That relationship went on.
Yeah. Because you went back to see her a year later, right?
Yeah, and I saw her again. She's not a lightweight.
Ever feel like you're burning the candle at every end? That was me on tour, back-to-back shows, brutal travel, barely any recovery time. And let's face it, I'm not 25 anymore. I mean, my body was like, mate, what are you doing? So before the next leg, I switched things up and started taking Vitals by Heights. Just 2 capsules a day, packed with 20 essential nutrients for brain and body, omega-3s, B vitamins, D3, all the good stuff. I mean, Heights has massively transformed the way I tour. I used to have trouble sleeping, not be able to fall asleep, be wide awake for hours, or fall asleep, wake up in the middle of the night, not be able to get back to sleep, then have to do a whole new day the next day, feeling pretty groggy. You know, Vitals has changed that for me. This isn't some gimmick brand either. Heights is formulated by doctors, backed by science, and trusted by elite performers. There are literally thousands of 5-star reviews to go along with it, right? If you want to simplify your routine and feel your best, head to heights.com/OTM and use the code OTM20 for 20% off your first subscription. Trust me, you'll feel the difference. Yeah, no way.
No way. Did you see the documentary about her now?
No, I haven't seen it.
She grew into something interesting.
Yeah, she's fucking
And
awesome.
not addicted to fame.
Yeah.
The ones that are the most interesting get over their addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, do you think that's a time thing, or do you think that's because some people
No,
don't get
some
over it.
people lock themselves in the house or
Yeah.
go, do you remember who I am?
Yeah.
And it becomes tragic, or it's so seeped in, Carrie Fisher, it was so seeped in her skin. All she wanted to do was meet a guy. And I took her to a ranch where there were cowboys and tried to introduce her to normal people, but good-looking people.
Yeah.
And she was just kind of in a coma, drinking her Coke and smoking.
Yeah.
I was fixing her up. These guys were
absolutely.
nice.
Yeah.
We had to rope her onto her horse, otherwise she'd fall off.
Yeah. So watching those back, for Ruby Met, what I found so interesting was that, from an observer of those shows, you seem like the most confident, kind of like powerful woman, and you're watching them back saying what was actually going through.
No, I was that confident until I'm with Trump or Bill Cosby and they won. You can see a person going under. Trump scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good TV too, but I wasn't proud of it. It's not like when you're sword fighting with Carrie and you're, flinging bombs.
Yeah.
That was, I was popular, and I was never popular in high school, so I got the A-list. In a way, that was closure, and then I didn't have to keep doing it. And also, you couldn't keep doing it because, the movie stars and the stars were famous because they could sing or act.
Yeah.
Then it became they weren't famous for anything.
Yeah.
Now what are you going to talk about?
Exactly.
What are you going to talk? Because Liza Minnelli was nuts when I was interviewing her. I mean, completely nuts. But then she sang Cabaret in my face, and I went, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Respect.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about mindfulness because it's a big part of your work now. What does that look like?
Focusing attention. If you just sat now and I said, just sit in the chair, you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, and you don't want to just sit in a chair, but whatever you're doing, when you want to, like if you're on holiday, your mind is on holiday.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, oh, who am I supposed to call?
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens automatically, like you see a seagull and you really see a seagull.
Yeah.
But your mind wanders. And they say you spend 80% of your mind wandering. If you want to, cool. But I'd like the choice of saying, I want to focus on where I am right now.
Yeah.
And if I'm working, I can work longer hours than anybody else can.
Yeah.
Because I can keep my attention.
Yeah.
And I think mindfulness, because the physiology of it and the neuroscience of it, means that I got a strong muscle there that can pull focus.
And that's a muscle that you can train.
You train it. Yeah. You train it like playing piano. And if people want to, and I do, I go into the details. You can do it running, eating, sitting, waiting on the phone at the bus stop while your kids are screaming.
You talked about brushing your teeth.
Brushing your teeth, anything. But you're doing an exercise at the piano.
Right. Yeah, because I think what you just said there is so fascinating because, like, I'm going on holiday on the 2nd of April, right? I'm so looking forward to that. But when I get there, I'll be thinking about what I'm doing after that. And I know when I get there, I'm going to be looking on my phone, waiting for emails about things, kind of like thinking about the next thing. I would love to have a bit of that, like I do. I've tried lots of different techniques of mindfulness. I followed an app for ages. I kind of tried to do transcendental meditation for a while. And now I do something called yoga nidra, which I'm really enjoying.
Right. To me, you need to know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you think, I'm an idiot. I'm lying here and I'm thinking about my third finger.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I like the neuroscience that they teach at Oxford.
Yeah.
As to what exactly happens. Mindfulness isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not 100%. I'll go on holiday and I'll forget,
Yeah.
what I got to buy a new suitcase, get online.
Yeah.
But I can, not bully for me. If I'm on stage and I start to lose my lines and, my tongue dries up and my heart beats, the audience turn on you because they can smell your fear.
Yeah.
I do know, I have a technique that I can get it back. I can ground myself and I watch how fast the cortisol comes down. And then because I can see their eyes coming back and sort of the liking comes back into their eyes.
Yeah.
So, I always say we work like neural Wi-Fi. If I was really tense, you'd pick it up.
Yeah.
But we're here together.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So if you were an asshole, I'd have to find some way of cooling the system. Otherwise, I'll give it right back.
Yeah.
And so it's a good thing to have at work or when you're dealing with a jerk.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your workshops, you'd be teaching this?
Yeah, that's what I do. I tell what the exercise is. I tell you why. I tell you where in the brain.
That's the thing. It's the why.
Yeah.
It's like for me, because sometimes I'm doing it just to get a break from my fucking head.
But you won't. If you're trying and you don't know why you're doing it, the thoughts will just go, you stupid idiot, you're doing this exercise. You don't,
Yeah.
But that's part of the regime is that you hear that, but you learn to, again, with the exercise, watch the thoughts rather than be in them.
Right.
So there's anger, there's a shame, there's whatever. It ain't going away, but it's more like, oh, there is anger rather than I'm angry.
Yeah.
You recognize your old scars.
Right.
Oh, there's Ruby thinking, what did you just say? Are you making sense?
Yeah.
But it's not, if it was plaguing me so much, I'd start tripping up.
Guys, thank you so much for listening, and a massive thank you again to Ruby Wax. If you're new to On The Mend, we've got plenty more conversations like this. This season, we've had a whole bunch of guests, from broadcast legends like Ian Lee and Richard Madeley to backstage at Busted vs. McFly gig with my pals Dougie Pointer and Harry Judd. We've got so many guests who've been brave enough to tell the truth about the messy bits. I know there's something across our pods for everyone. And I say this every week, but it matters, right? This community only works because of you, your comments, your messages, your honesty. It genuinely keeps this show going. Last night I was out for dinner at quite a posh place, right? I was signing a new publishing deal for songwriting, right? And I was out with like a table full of record company people, right? And publishing company people. We finished our meal and the head chef came up to the table and just said, I just wanted to check everything was okay with your meal, which I thought was a bit strange. That normally doesn't happen. And he said, I hope you don't mind, but we heard that the Willis was in. And I was like, well, never been referred to as that before, right? And he just kind of like openly in front of everyone at the table said, I'm a year clean and sober, and we listened to your podcast in the kitchen. There's 3 other guys in there who are in recovery, and we listen to it all, get a bit choked up. We listen to it all the time, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you do, because it makes a massive difference to my journey, and I can tell you right now that it's making a big difference to those guys in there. And it fucking knocked me for 6, man. Like, it really meant so much to me to hear that from somebody. And we had a bit of a chat, and a bit of a back and forth, and then I met some other guys in the kitchen who are kind of going through a similar journey, not just with booze and drugs, with other things as well, and they're kind of getting something from this podcast. And I was so blown away by it, and it just made me go, yes, this is what we do this for. And the fact he passed it on to other people in the kitchen, that were struggling or going through something. Like, one guy really struggles with his mental health, and he was kind of having this journey, and he was using this podcast as part of his recovery journey. And I found that amazingly powerful and gratifying and all these kind of things. It was a beautiful thing. And it just made me go, do you know what? This is the importance of sharing these things. It genuinely keeps the show going. So if you took something from this episode, let us know. Share it with someone who might need it today. It makes a bigger difference than you think. And please do give us a follow so we can keep delivering On The Mend to you. We've got so many great episodes planned for 2026, so watch this space. All right, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time on The Mend. And by the way, have a great Christmas.